We've been talking about playoff heroes the last couple of weeks, and now it's time for Championship Edition. Who are those players that might be under the radar, flyers, sleepers, streamers, that could help you take home a title in Week 17? Let's find out. Welcome back, Fantasy Endgame community. I'm Pierre, he's Chris. We're here to talk playoff heroes one more time. It's Week 17. That means championship week for a lot of you. Who are those kind of hidden heroes and guys you might not expect that could help lead you to victory? All right, Chris, let's hear it. Who's your first pick?
My first pick is going to be Richie James of the New York Giants. And what have we seen from this Colts defense the last 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago against Minnesota, their slot wide receiver, KJ Osborne, I think it was the best game of his career. I'd be really shocked if it wasn't, but he had just an absolute monster game against this defense. And then what did we see in Week 16? Keenan Allen just had a monster game against this defense. Why? Because they're missing their starting slot corner. They're down to backup corners at the slot. They didn't have like a shutdown slot corner, but they had a pretty good one. Now they don't. And Richie James is the wide receiver here who plays the slot for the New York Giants. And he's been pretty good recently as far as, getting a decent amount of targets, getting a decent amount of yards. But in Week 16, not only was he good, he was great. He led the team in targets, led the team in receptions. And against this Colts defense, missing their starting slot corner, who has just been getting, absolutely destroyed by slot wide receivers, I think Richie James does it again for your fantasy team. I mean, look, I'm not saying go out there and start Richie James over really good players, but if you're in deeper leagues and you're looking for those deep league flexes with upside, Richie James definitely has it. He might still be out on your waiver wire. Go out, see if he is, but if you stashed him or if you grabbed him, roll with him in Week 17. I don't think he lets you down.
Yeah, I would agree. Look, maybe the Giants don't pass a ton this week, but I feel out of all the receivers they have that they're going to now more often, I think James is the best pick. I'm with you on that one. All right, let's go with a receiver who is, somebody we had given up on for the most part, but Jakobi Meyers, maybe he's back. So look, I get the fact that touchdown was pretty fluky last week, and it wasn't like it was this huge game, but did Myers ever really completely leave? I mean, he missed for a couple of weeks because of injury. He's been banged up and concussion protocol, whatnot. But the target share is starting to creep back up over the last 3 weeks. 5 targets, 6 targets. Last week, 7 targets. He's the best receiver they have. And this is a team that, they don't love to throw the ball, but they've kind of had to more than they want lately. So with Ramondre Stevenson being banged up as well, don't know if he's really 100% after last week. I think this team is going to go to Myers again as their most trusted receiver. They've had issues at receiver as well. Devontae Parker out. Tyquan Thornton has been questionable with injury. Myers is the guy that's going to be their trusted receiver. Hunter Henry also has been missing time. Jonnu Smith, also questionable. Myers is the key to this passing offense. And in a game where they really, really want to beat the Dolphins to try to stay alive in the playoff race, I think we're going to see plenty of Myers. This is a guy who just put up his biggest output in terms of yardage since Week 5. I feel confident in him. He's a guy that everyone's kind of been off lately. Look, I know he's not the most exciting player to put out there, but he is a solid pick in PPR leagues. I think he could come through with another big game. All right. Who's another hidden hero you have in mind for this week?
Well, Brandon Cooks might have the weirdest season I can ever remember in my life. Started the year barely involved in this offense. Asked for a trade. Everybody thought he would get traded at the trade deadline. He didn't. He complained. He pouted. He literally quit and didn't come to practice and didn't play a game. Then he had a change of heart. And he came back, but the team was like, no, we don't really want you to play. Then they're like, okay, go play. And then he got hurt and he missed some games. And then in Week 16, for a team with 1 win, on a team he doesn't even want to play for, that he wanted to get traded from, he comes back, has 9 targets, and scores a touchdown, and has his best game of the entire season. What? Who saw that coming? Not me. But you know what? It is what it is. He's the only wide receiver they really have now. Nico Collins out for the season. Chris Moore was fun while it lasted, but that ride is over now. And he gets Jacksonville this week. This is a great matchup for him. No, doesn't have a ton of upside in this offense. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not going to give you a huge game, but he's probably going to get 8 to 10 targets. The Jacksonville secondary should not scare you at all. Brandon Cooks, a guy dropped in a ton of leagues, definitely could still be out there floating on your waiver wire. If you're in a deeper league, or if you're desperate at wide receiver, which you may be, take a look at Brandon Cooks. I think he has another good game in Week 17.
Brandon Cooks, man, it's so weird, like you said, but you've got to look at the guy who's got the opportunity. He's got it right in front of him for all the reasons you said. So if you need a flex play with upside, he's back. Let's talk about a guy who is very similar, a smallish, speedy receiver who suddenly looks like he has some huge upside. That is the rookie, Jahan Dotson in Washington. I mean, it's all been about Terry McLaurin as the lead guy there, Curtis Samuel, of course, the veteran. But have you noticed that lately Dotson all of a sudden has become the top receiver? The last 2 weeks, 6 targets, 9 targets, 105 yards, 76 yards. In fact, he's over the last 3 games gotten a total of 25 targets. Oh, and he scored 3 games in a row as well. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but it looks like Dotson has been the guy who's emerged as the top target. And in that matchup with Cleveland, I'm not scared of Cleveland's defense. I know they're much weaker on the ground, which is why Brian Robinson looks like a great pick this week. I think Dotson's also a really good pick because if Denzel Ward is locked up with McLaurin on the outside, that'll leave room for Dotson and Curtis Samuel to some extent to operate on the other side. You kind of have to like Washington's offense in general this week, and honestly, I don't mind if it's Carson Wentz or Taylor Heinicke because Dotson obviously has been putting up these numbers with Heinicke at quarterback the last couple of weeks. Don't forget, the first couple of weeks with Wentz at quarterback, he had scored 3 touchdowns his first 2 weeks, and Dotson was looking like the better receiver than McLaurin when Wentz was at quarterback. It could be Dotson's turn to be the guy down the stretch. Washington also going to go all out because they're still trying to fight to make the playoffs. I feel like Dotson is going to continue getting a huge target share and could be one of those guys that's, well, maybe not even unexpected. Now we should expect him to boom. All right, let's do one more each. Who's your last under-the-radar playoff hero?
Does DeAndre Swift count as under the radar? I mean, I think he does, right? Because most people either aren't starting him or haven't been starting him or are out of the playoffs if they were starting him. But if you're still alive and you've got DeAndre Swift, I think he comes through this week because, look, last week, I thought there was a chance he could be good last week, and he wasn't. But he played over half the snaps, and we've only seen that a few times this year. Just didn't get the ball a lot. But look, they were losing. They were getting blown out by the Panthers because the Panthers were running all over them as if this Lions run defense, was the defense we saw in the first half of the year. They're now at home. They're against the Bears, who are a bottom 5 run defense. I don't think this is a game where the Bears are going to be up big on them and they're just going to have to throw. I think they'll be able to run the ball more. Jamal Williams got a little banged up at the end of the game. Like I said, Swift over 50% of the snaps last week. I think we see him more involved. I think he could rip off some big runs here. I think he scores a touchdown. I know it's weird to say DeAndre Swift is a hidden, under-the-radar hero, but I feel like he kind of is right now because nobody wants to start him. But I think if you're desperate, you could do worse at running back than DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, there's definitely trust issues with Swift. There's no doubt about that. But this could be the week where maybe, finally, hopefully, his draft price pays off if you start him. So, I hate to be too high on the Detroit Lions offense, especially for the championship. But here we go. Let's go all in. I call Jared Goff a boom for this week. You like DeAndre Swift? Let's go a little deeper. I like DJ Chark enough that I'm going to roll him in my flex spot wherever I can get him if I have him. So here's the thing with Chark. Probably a lot of people don't even realize because I haven't heard anybody talking about how productive he's been the last few weeks. The thing is, look, week 13, 98 yards. Week 14, 94 yards and a touchdown. Week 16, just now, 108 yards. Because we forget about all that success because the week before, he had a dud, right? And against the Jets, 1 catch for 18 yards, which we expected because it's the Jets, right? One of the best against wide receivers. Sauce Gardner there on the other side. But if you look at it, every game where they didn't play the Jets over the past month, he's been having a lot of success. And now, where is it? At home against the Bears. And you know the Bears are missing their top corner, Jalen Johnson, who was really good, and now he is out. There's definitely an opportunity here. Gabe Davis even caught a touchdown against the Bears last week. I feel like DJ Chark can definitely keep it going. I mean, there's really no reason to think that he wouldn't have success. Only concern maybe is if they're up so big that they don't even need to try to pass the ball. But I feel like Detroit's going to try to pass the ball anyways. It could be huge games for Lions all around. Look, why not go all in? Start your Lions if you got them. And DJ Chark is definitely one of those guys I want. All right, that does it for Playoff Heroes, Week 17 edition. We also have start-sit advice for Week 17 and everything else you need to know to take home that fantasy championship right here.